So as part of our proactive strategy to enhance food security and boost local production, the ministry has rolled out a series of high-impact initiatives across by key areas including research, education, financing, and institutional development. These initiatives are an ongoing agriculture sector study with baseline data collection, a 2025 Train the Trainer hydroponic program reaching 9 schools, and an establishment of a seedling development center to strengthen the crop propagation efforts. We're also preparing to launch a agri-loan program under the Lance Paquette and Credits Framework, while accelerating work towards the formal establishment of the Agriculture, Livestock, and Fisheries Agency. In parallel, we are also restructuring key focus areas such as poultry, fisheries, supported by the development of the essential policy and regulatory framework, and each of these initiatives will be presented in a more detail later. But before I continue with the presentation, allow me to address a very critical matter. While I commend Parliament for this designated agriculture as the theme for 2024-2025 parliamentary year, the current national budget tells a different story, with only 61,000 guilders allocated to agriculture. We must collectively recognize that what this means. If we are truly committed to advancing the agriculture sector, we cannot continue to rely predominantly on external funding sources such as the TEWEO and the EU GO projects, which currently finances 90% of the initiatives I will present today. As a government, and more importantly, as Parliament, we must take ownership and increase the national budget allocation for agriculture. And I look forward to for the support as we prepare for the 2026 budget cycle. So while we're on the topic of agriculture, I found it imperative to briefly address and express the pressing external factor that could severely impact our food system, the ongoing tariff war. Although this may seem distant from our shores, the ripple effects could hit St. Martin and hard due to our reliance on imports and limited local production. So how could we potentially be affected? So increased food prices. So the tariff raised the cost of imported food from key trading partners with higher pricing passed on to consumers. So what kind of impact is this? Our families, especially low-income households, will see grocery bills rise and access to nutritious food decline. Supply chain disruption. Trade disputes may lead to export restrictions, shipping delays, or supply rerouting. So the impact of this could impact retailers and restaurant risk shock shortages. Hospitals may face delays in receiving essential supplies. Greater economic vulnerability is another one. A narrow economic base and heavy import dependencies make the island sensitive to global price shocks. This impact could mean economic fragility increases. More public funds may be needed to support food security and protect vulnerable groups. And lastly, another impact could be the higher input costs. The tariffs and compliance burdens raise the cost of goods before arrival, affecting supply chains. So this impact means doing business becomes more expensive and reducing competitiveness and increasing consumer costs. We did not anticipate this global tariff war playing a direct role in today's conversation, but its potential on our food system is undeniable. More than ever, this reinforces the urgency of reducing our dependency on imports. We must accelerate efforts to invest in local agriculture, fisheries, and water security, and fast-track the establishment of this ALF agency. So these actions are no longer just strategic, they're essential for building a resilient and food-secure future for St. Martin. While our government was already actively working on solutions to reduce import dependencies, the resurgence of global tariff tensions, especially involving key partners like the United States, has pushed us to broaden our scope and deepen our commitment. These involving international dynamics underscore the need to move swiftly and strategically to protect St. Martin's food security and economic resilience. So we must now take into even greater consideration the fragility of our supply chain and act with urgency. Below, I will list as you can see there on the chart, a summary of the key initiatives that are currently underway. So the establishment, of course, of the ALF agency, which I mentioned before is a dedicated, is being launched to support farmers, promote local productions, and coordinate regional food security efforts through DC Alpha. And then the diversifying import sources, so new trade relationships are being developed with countries like St. Kitts, Panama, Barbados, French side, and the Dominican Republic, and soon the Dominican Republic, to ensure broader supply access. Then we have regional transshipment hub. St. Martin, the plans are in motion to position St. Martin as a regional logistics hub, with cargo operations at the port being upgraded for greater efficiency and reliability. Then we have formation of a national trade and resilience task force. A cross-ministerial task force will monitor global shifts, coordinate regional responses, and strengthen national resilience strategies, particularly in food and trade sectors. Then we have strengthening communication, consumer protection. So measures include updating basic goods basket, increasing price monitoring, and launching a public price comparison initiative to help consumers make more informed choices. Then also, lastly, expand our trade portfolios. So existing ties with Europe, Latin America, and the Caribbean are being leveraged to stabilize supply channels and promote competitiveness within the local markets. These efforts, some already underway and others being expanded, are crucial steps in reducing St. Martin's exposure to the global shocks and creating a more self-reliant future. So let's continue to act with foresight and urgency on this, which we're doing in collaboration interministerially and, of course, internally as well. As part of our proactive efforts to reduce high food import costs and strengthen food security, the Ministry of TIAD has actively been engaging with regional partners to build strategic trade relationships focused on agriculture, livestock, and fisheries. We have already conducted a productive bilateral meeting with St. Kitts, Panama, as mentioned before, Barbados, and we plan to expand these efforts by visiting the Dominican Republic and hopefully soon Colombia in the coming months. These engagements are not casual, they are strategic, and St. Martin's approaches each meeting with a clear set of goals and priorities, especially given that we are starting from a low base of agricultural knowledge and infrastructure. So what are the key objectives to these visits? As part of our ongoing diplomatic and economic outreach, these are the core objectives guiding our visits to regional partners. Each point reflects our commitment to strengthening food security and building a sustainable agriculture trade network for St. Martin. So one is to understand their agricultural supply chain, so identify what products, for instance, produce, poultry, and fish they can export, and in what volumes and during which season. We're also looking to negotiate preferential or stable trade terms, aim for agreements or MOUs that ensures price stability and priority access and consistent delivery timeline. Explore knowledge and technology transfer, so looking at requesting training and technical support in areas like hydroponics, poultry management, and aquaculture. And then also establishing partnerships for supply chain logistics, align on shipments routes, cold storage, and customs process to ensure smooth and cost-effective delivery of perishables. Source affordable agriculture imports, so we're looking at securing low-cost regional suppliers for essentials like seeds, feed, fertilizer, and equipment to reduce freight dependency. And explore private sector linkages, so facilitate direct connections between St. Martin businesses and regional producers to reduce middleman costs. And also, lastly, discuss biosecurity and regulatory alignment, so ensure that imports meet our food safety, animal health, and consumer protection standards. That, in a nutshell, is what we are working on when it comes to food security. But of course, we can't accomplish all of this without the ALF agency, which is the vehicle that we're going to be using to execute all of this. So what will the vision of this establishment mean? What will it be? We see it as a transformative blueprint for St. Martin's agriculture future. It will directly address our current challenges, reduce our reliance on import, and lay the foundation for a resilient, self-sustaining food system. At its core, the plan is to build a sustainable ecosystem by empowering local producers with the latest innovations and agricultural best practices. This will ensure a long-term resilient agricultural framework that secures food for both our residents and visitors. A key element of this vision is ensuring that every citizen has access to affordable, healthy food. By enforcing strict food security standards and regulating market prices, we aim to create an environment where nutritious produce becomes the norm.
.24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, com programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
With regard to the Consumer Banking Protection Bureau, no steps have been taken to date to initiate the drafting of the related legislation. I will be engaging in discussions with the central bank to explore how we can move this process forward and ensure that the necessary legislative framework is developed. Strategic plan. On February 17, 2022, the central bank presented its strategic plan 2022-2025 to the Council of Ministers. One of the central goals in this plan is to ensure that payment systems are accessible to all. This ordinance is a direct reflection of that goal and supports our broader national objectives around inclusion, transparency, and economic empowerment.
Minister Gums, with your indulgence, I see MP Irian having an interruption. MP Irian, you want to make, well, clearly you want to make it during the minister's presentation, but could you please keep it brief so that the minister could have a certain flow in the presentation, then we can get into the discussion. MP Irian.
Yes, yes, Madam Chair. I'll keep it brief. Good afternoon, all. Minister, just for clarity, based on the presentation and the slide just now, it gives the interpretation that this legislation was actually initiated because of that motion or was drafted because of that motion. So I want some clarity on that. Is that the case? Otherwise, why is that slide then relevant?
Clarity, MP Irian. To clarify, that slide was simply to indicate a timeline basis. It's not based on the motion necessarily, but it's to indicate the timeline process of what I met when I came in and will be handling here today.
MP Irian.
Thank
for your
you.
Interruption.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just for clarity, because we had this discussion already when I was here in Broader CC in terms of the legislation and the timeline. And a question I believe even came for you, Madam Chair, in terms of the process, because we had MP Bryson that actually brought a legislation regarding the banking law. So I've also put it in the MP's chat also, so the information from the central bank itself. So I would like the minister to clarify this actually, because the central bank in their answers states that this legislation started in 2021 and your legal advisor is also part of that email transaction. And in that email also they make it very clear, because there's a very direct question, does this legislation have anything to do with MP Bryson? And they said no. So I've also sent it to the Parliament chat. So I'd like some clarity on that. So they also said that it started in January of 2021 by the central bank. And they also state why it was started. So then your presentation does not align with the actual timeline and the legal procedure and trajectory of the central bank itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for clarity, I think it's important to say the following. I understand MP Irian's position on what the central bank indicated. I also understand what the former MP Bryson, as this was an important topic for him, brought to the floor of Parliament as well. Truth of the matter is, we are here today, and I know MP Irian, this is a matter that is of very much importance to you personally, Madam Chair, through you. And so whether it's central bank doing, former MP Bryson bringing this to the floor because of importance, fact of the matter is, this matter is of serious importance. And both you and I know that there are persons within this community that don't have the proper needs for just a simple basic bank account. And that's what we're here today to discuss.
Minister, you may continue.
Strategic plan. On February 17, 2022, the central bank presented its strategic plan 2022 to 2025 to the Council of Ministers. One of the central goals in this plan is to ensure that payment systems are accessible to all. This ordinance is a direct reflection of the goal and supports our broader national objectives around inclusion, transparency, and economic empowerment. Research findings. The need for legislative action is further reinforced by research. In 2020, a study by the Central Bank and the Central Bureau of Statistics of Curaçao titled Households Financial Affairs 2020 found that over 12% of the population in Curaçao did not have access to a checking account. A follow-up study conducted in 2021 in St. Martin titled A Glance into St. Martin's Payment Behavior and Financial Matters revealed an even more concerning figure. Approximately 17% of the population did not have a checking account. Key barriers identified in the study included low household income, high costs associated with account maintenance, lack of trust in the banking sector, financial products not suited to consumer goods or needs, and limited financial literacy. These findings underscore the urgency for policy intervention. The draft ordinance before you today is a direct response to these realities and is intended to promote financial inclusion and ensure that no one is left behind as we transition toward a more digital economy. Trajectory of the draft national ordinance on the basic payments account. Honorable Chair, Lady, and honorable members of Parliament, allow me to briefly outline the trajectory of the draft national ordinance on the basic payment account. On March 1st, 2022, the Central Bank of Curaçao and St. Martin submitted the first draft of this ordinance, along with a draft containing general binding regulations. These documents aim to improve access to basic digital banking services for all residents, particularly those currently without access. The submission included feedback from representative organizations and supporting research, which were attached to the explanatory memorandum as annexes. The draft was subsequently forwarded to the Council of Advice on May 25, 2023, and their advice was issued on August 1st, 2023. Following this, the Ministry of Finance, together with the Central Bank, reviewed and updated the draft ordinance and explanatory memorandum. These changes were incorporated into the further report, or the NADA report, which was approved by the Council of Ministers and submitted to Parliament. The draft ordinance was handled in the Central Committee meeting of Parliament on January 4th, 2024. I would like to note for the record that this meeting took place prior to my appointment as Minister of Finance, and I was therefore not present at that discussion. Parliament's final report on the draft ordinance was submitted on July 10th, 2024, and the government's formal response, the note following the final report, was sent to Parliament on February 27th, 2025. Today, I am here in this public meeting to discuss this ordinance with you because I consider this a crucial piece of legislation. It reflects our commitment by ensuring that every resident of St. Martin has access to a bank account, a basic necessity in our increasingly digital economy. As we advance toward the digitalization of payments and public services, we must ensure that no one is left behind. This ordinance is a key step toward financial inclusion for all. Key features of the draft ordinance on the basic payment account.
It's time for a new brand that is as bold, vibrant, and colorful as the island of St. Martin, with colors drawn from our diversity, cultural heritage, and nature. Our breathtaking beaches, waters, and sun, the majestic brown pelican, our national symbol, the radiant yellow sage, or national flower, the historic border monument signifying the Dutch and French sides, our exciting cruise, yachting, and boating ports, renowned Maho Beach and St. Martin Airport, the hub to the Caribbean. All these parts come together to create the shape of the island of St. Martin. More than a logo. It's a new brand that engages, excites, and will inspire travelers to book. It's time to tell the St. Martin story, to reintroduce travelers to St. Martin, to honor our past, to embrace our present, and shape our future. Our culture and diversity, Dutch and French sides, unrivaled cuisine, twice the nightlife, entertainment, and shopping, cruises, boating, and yachting, twice the adventure, exploration, and relaxation, splendid and scenic accommodations, Pinel, Tentamar, and island hopping in the Caribbean. Whatever your taste, St. Martin has more. Experience twice the Caribbean. St. Martin.
24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, Com programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
We have now a government in place in Trinidad and Tobago, and the first order of business is boots on the ground and get to work. We have a lot of work to do.
Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar made several surprise announcements following the swearing-in of her cabinet on Saturday. Among them were the Stand Your Ground laws and home invasion laws, as well as granting firearm users licenses to law-abiding citizens. But one that stood out the most was TNT's push in the energy industry, Grenada, to be precise.
But I have a surprise for you. I intend to send my Minister of Energy to Grenada because I'm being told that Grenada offshore has more gas and oil than the Dragon field. So shall we explore that?
The Prime Minister said her administration would not move forward with the previous government's Dragon gas deal.
That is dead. It is dead. They kept it alive for 10 years. And if they couldn't do that in 10 years, they're not going to do it now. Let's look right in the Caribbean. As I mentioned, Grenada, Guyana, Suriname.
Meanwhile, Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, Dr. Rudal Munilal, said it's his intention to position TNT as the energy capital of the Caribbean.
Even before the swearing-in, the Guyanese government and officials there have expressed interest in having arrangements with Trinidad and Tobago and discussions pertaining to gas. And it is something that we will quickly engage the government and the relevant officials in Guyana.
And with regard to the Oando deal with the Point-A-Pay refinery, Dr. Munilal said it is on his agenda and would also pursue an independent assessment of the state of the refinery.
And on Monday, we'll be calling for all notes and minutes and reports of all the meetings that Mr. Stuart Young and Dr. Rowley attended pertaining to the energy sector in Trinidad and Tobago. I will be reviewing any and all arrangements with the entity that was being proposed to buy, lease, take the refinery.
Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar though assured that it is government's intention and promise to reopen the refinery.
We're committed to opening it. We will have to do feasibility studies, and that is well.
Dr. Munilal though said government will work with the trade unions to reopen the refinery, but noted that it may require a capital injection, and he's promised to reveal all on the Oando deal.
As you know, it has been a secret deal. On Monday morning, there are no secrets from me, so that we will get all the facts and I will brief the Prime Minister and take action.
Sonolala, TTT News.